Everyone. This might be a bit choppy. It seems like it's a bit choppy on this end. And if it's too much, I will abort mission. And it's, of course, in the middle of the morning. So I am waiting to see if anyone is up. It is 4 a.m. on the East Coast. So that is indeed quite early. But I figure some of you can watch this later on. I am in Louisiana, staying with a friend, a generous host, and I wanted to give an update. And I've got cats crawling all across my luggage, but I wanted to give an update as to what was going on with Massachusetts, the gift that keeps on giving. So the motion on the appeal from the ruling of the chair happened yesterday. And as expected, the ruling of the chair was sustained. But Whitney, let's put this up. Whitney cannot be terribly happy about this. She is not pleased because it was close. It was close. And in that is quite encouraging that most of the LNC is starting to see through her terrible rulings. We expected that it would be sustained. So, as was said openly on the LNC list, congratulations, LNC, you're just going to get appealed again. It's quite obvious, I think, to most membership that you're going to have to deal with this issue. And to just rule it out of order in utter defiance of the Judicial Committee's ruling in Delaware just shows that you really don't have the interest of the members at heart. I think this is an easy appeal. No matter what happens with the underlying motion, I think the Judicial Committee is going to rightly bitch slap you and say you should have heard this motion. Whitney, your ruling was in utter bad faith. Those of you who voted for it, you voted for it in utter bad faith. And Chris Lucchini, your region told you not to vote for it, and you did. You're not a representative, and if I ever have anything to do with it, you will never be representing Colorado again. You are an embarrassment. You're not a representative. Why do you even pretend to ask the states their opinion when you're not going to represent them properly? But disappointingly, because this is somebody that I generally like, the epitome of the lack of understanding of our bylaws, of common sense, and how political affiliation works with affiliate parties was demonstrated by my fraudulent replacement, alleged replacement, John Welford. And I hate to use him as an example here because he's one of the nicest guys on the LNC. But his reasoning here just perfectly exemplifies the utter lack of comprehension, echo chamberedness, and cluelessness of this particular LNC. They just don't know what they're doing, and they're incompetent to run a national party. So I'm looking on my phone and I'm going to read his reasoning. And even though I think it's terrible reasoning, I'm very grateful for him for taking the time to point it out rather than just being really peevish like Richard Longstreth. So let's read his reasoning. First of all, the first sentence I'm just going to assume is a mistype because it's factually utterly wrong. He says, I spent the last few weeks torn on the nature of the chair's ruling. Well, it's not possible to spend the last few weeks doing this, John, because it's only existed for a week. I think you, ma'am, and I'm not saying that to be sarcastic. I say that like, yes, ma'am, like not today type thing. So, sir, I think you're exaggerating, but you've spent a week about it. Okay. He says, I both recognize that our bylaws compel us not to interfere with state affiliates. That is not exactly what our bylaws say. It says, except as provided by these bylaws. You guys keep forgetting this caveat. And anyone watching, I would like to know if this is too choppy to be watchable, because I don't want to produce content that's unwatchable. But when I'm on the road, the internet connection is not going to be ideal. And he says, and that we as an organization have the right of affiliation, so can choose who we affiliate with. And that goes both ways, by the way. Top-down organizations tend to forget that. After a lot of consideration, here is where I fall. It's embarrassing that this was after a lot of consideration, John. The LNC does have the right to choose who it affiliates with, and that is not in conflict with 5.5. That was never an issue. There isn't an issue that there is an affiliate in Massachusetts. Nobody disputes that. Why we're even talking about this is like him going all of a sudden into a soliloquy about the color of the sky. That's wonderful. The sky is blue on good days, but that has nothing to do with the issue at hand, John. Great. You can quote an irrelevant bylaw. That's the sound of one hand clapping. And then he says the autonomy of the affiliate and sub-affiliate parties shall not be abridged by the National Committee or any other committee of the party except as provided as these bylaws. Except as provided by these bylaws. This portion of the bylaws was interpreted by the Judicial Committee less than a month ago. And it told you, in order to fulfill your duties under the bylaws, you have to know who the leadership is of your affiliate. That is all the motion that Whitney ruled out of order asked to do. There is a legitimate dispute as to who the leadership is of a particular affiliate. It's not some claim out of the blue like Kim Jong-un all of a sudden saying he's the chair of Massachusetts. There was supporting evidence provided. It doesn't mean that the evidence would provide the case, but it was certainly enough of an indicia that there was a credible dispute, that the LNC has to grow a frickin' backbone and decide it. Instead, they try to kick it down the road. They knew that this appeal from the ruling of the chair, if it were sustained, would be appealed. So that just speaks to me that you are bad faith trying to run out the clock to screw over 47 members in Massachusetts. And how dare you? However, our bylaws lay out the path for doing that. 5.2 lays out the path for us to affiliate with an organization. How the F is that relevant to this issue, John? Why don't you just quote bylaws on how the platform committee is created? Because that would have as much relevance to this issue. And then he goes on and talks about how we affiliate. There's no doubt there's an affiliate in Massachusetts. Irrelevant. And then 5.6 lays out the path for us to disaffiliate. That is more relevant. Because if you refuse to recognize the affiliate in Massachusetts, and in refusing to recognize the rightful chair, whoever that may be, it's in dispute at this point. That is a constructive disaffiliation. That is a long-standing precedent in this party. So at least you remotely mentioned that disaffiliation is at play here. And I'm not going to read where he didn't need to quote all of that. He could have linked to it. When people do these block quotes of too much text, this could be just me. This could be me being uncharitable. I think they're just trying to look smart. Whereas this motion neither meets the criteria to affiliate an organization, it never claimed to. You might well say that this motion doesn't meet the criteria to create a bundt cake. And this motion does not meet the criteria to revoke the status of an affiliate. Again, it didn't pretend to. Why are you mentioning irrelevant things, John. Do you even understand the issues here? It seems clear to me that this is in fact interfering with the autonomy of an affiliate. How? Unless you are going to say, John, that every single time the LNC receives documentation after an annual convention that the chair has changed, that recognizing the new chair is interfering with the autonomy of an affiliate, you have just spouted nonsense. Let me riddle you this. Say there was a convention that you knew, we're just going to make up the state of Franklin. The state of Franklin had its annual convention in March. And two people, and it's no doubt there was a convention, two different groups of people write you and say, I was elected chair and vice chair. Do you think at this point you just throw up your hands and go, well, we don't know who to talk to. Who do you send the CRM access to? In order to do the job of the LNC, you have to know who the chair is. Determining who the chair is when there is a dispute is part of your job. Now, there may be times that the evidence isn't clear. There may be times when you can't figure out who is right. That's the whole reason there is bylaws and why the bylaws are required to be submitted to the National Party, is in the case that the National Party needs to figure out the right procedure in a certain circumstance so that it doesn't interfere with the autonomy. Following the rules of the affiliate is honoring their autonomy, not violating it. You can't just, as a national board, throw up your hands. If you don't have the balls to make a decision, then get out of the mating pen. This is no place for geldings, male or female. On a personal note, the information on what happened in Lama does seem to point to the fact that they violated their own constitution. Well, there you go. You are admitting there is a legitimate dispute. So you're just saying that it's okay for the Libertarian Association of Massachusetts to violate its own constitution. You're admitting that you guys are probably dealing with the wrong chair, which means, John, you are a party to fraud. Don't you understand that? That if the National Party tells inquiring members, hey, I'm a brand new Libertarian in Massachusetts, who do I go to affiliate? And you're sending them to a group, a state committee that you just admitted here that you believe probably isn't legitimate, you are a party to fraud. I sure hope the board's errors and admissions policies are up to date, dude. You realize you could be personally on the hook if it's not. And I hope that either the delegates of the MA State Convention recognize that. They can't recognize that if there isn't a legitimate state convention. A state convention can only be called by the legitimate board. You are making 0 sense. Do you even read what you write? And even pretending they can have a legitimate convention, when you throw out all the dissenters, who is left to make the decision? These members were counting on you, John, and you let them down. It's cowardice. Sheer and simple. Leaders sometimes have to make tough decisions. And what you did right here is cowardice. And I'm not trying to pick on you. I'm using your statement because you're the only one who had the courtesy to at least explain what you were thinking about in great detail. However, I cannot let Lama's decision to violate their constitution justify letting the LNC violate their own bylaws. You obviously did not read the last Delaware decision, which clearly and twice wrote to Whitney to explain their decision that you're not violating your own bylaws by determining who the chair is, which your own bylaws require. So, John, you just quite simply don't know what you're doing. You just don't. I like you. I've pointed out multiple times where you don't know what you're doing with minutes, and you don't know what you're doing in interpreting bylaws. I know you claim to be a parliamentarian. Being a member of NAP does not make you a parliamentarian. Being able to read does not make you understand bylaws because you apparently did not learn the lesson. And I do not like the way my hair curling came out. It's just different, like humidity patterns here. And I think I'm going to recurl it. But anyway, John, you done screwed the pooch on this one. And there's an appeal already written. So here's where I'm coming to you guys. There are two paths to appeal here. First is to get 10% of credentialed delegates at the 2020 convention. That would be 105 people. The other path is to get 1% of the national bylaw sustaining membership, which would be about 167 people. I actually think it would be easier to get the 167. Whether or not you think one board or the other is correct doesn't matter at this point. If you agree that the LNC needs to be the LNC and at least look at this, please join in the appeal. We're going to be getting signatures this weekend. We hope to file this appeal Monday or Tuesday. Are you a bylaw sustaining member or somebody, or both even, that was a credentialed delegate at the 2020 delegation? Please get in touch with me at KarenAnnHarlos@gmail.com. I got a little kitty cat here. And sign the petition. You don't have to agree with the underlying issues. All you need to agree with is that the LNC needs to be leaders and decide this. And if you would like to help get signatures, again, if we have 20 people who each get 10 signatures, we could have this done in a few hours. We all know 10 National Party members. Let's get this heard. If this were you that were unjustly thrown out for merely signing a petition, you would want to have your day in court. Please stick up for Massachusetts so that they have their day in court. And shame on you, Chris Lucchini. You're not a representative. You should resign. You should resign. And I am really tempted at this point to ask the state chairs of Region 1 to ask for your resignation. You're not representing us. And I know it's only 2 months before convention and you're going to be gone anyway. But I would rather have nobody for these next 2 months than someone like you. Why do you even do the pretense of asking? It is so insulting. I can't speak for the Board of Colorado, but I can speak as a former officer of the Board of Colorado, and this is what I feel about your representation. You're not a representative. And I hope you are never, ever. No, Diana, they didn't vote to remove. We're not a big believer in removals. After what happened to me, we're just not a big believer in that. But we do think he should resign. At least that's what the last board thought. I'm not on the board right now. I personally, as a member of Colorado, since he obviously cannot represent Colorado, and there was a vote of the states. And what he does is he makes private phone calls and tries to wheel and deal and politically bribe people into changing their votes. But as of the time of his vote, All of the region, all of the states in his region that weighed in told him to vote against the ruling of the chair, and he voted for it. I know for a fact that Colorado, Arizona, Washington, and Nevada, who were the only states that weighed in at the time, told him, overturn the ruling of the chair. Within a half an hour of getting the instructions from Nevada, he defied it and voted to sustain the ruling. And he never ever notes on the list that there was objections in his region. He's a terrible, terrible representative. And I would rather be regionless than ever risk being under his thumb again. Now, I talked to Alex Flores, who he was going to cede his vote to. And Alex was going to vote the will of the region like he should. I've had my disagreements with Alex, but Alex was going to vote the right way, the way his region told him to. But not Chris Lucchini, because he thinks he's above everyone else, because he has money. No, not today, Satan. Your reckoning is coming, and you do not represent me. But Diana, if you're a National Party member and you would like to sign this petition for appeal, please get in touch with me. I'm going to be busy in Louisiana all weekend, so I probably will not have much time to work on this. I'm hoping to have more time tonight. I've reached out to some people. If you would like to help organize or commit to getting a certain number of signatures, please get in touch. 20 people getting 10 signatures this weekend, we'd have it done. 40 people getting 5, we'd have it done. This is so doable. Let's bitch slap the LNC. All right, I'm probably going to have another update on the convention con job, which will be, I was hoping it was over with the great walk back. But I have some quibbles with what Ken Molman just posted, but they're not quibbles in like, oh, corruption or anything like that. It's just I disagree with him. And you know I love Ken, but sometimes I think he misses the forest for the trees. All right, everyone. I hope you are enjoying these updates. Oh, I did have some other exciting news. I did have the major fundraising goal on my GoFundMe, which I had made before I'd gotten a campaign manager. And I did send DL Cummings to some conventions, which was expenses that I didn't originally plan for. So I probably am going to raise my fundraising goal because there still are some things that the campaign needs to purchase. All of the travel is pretty much done, but we need to buy supplies for convention. So I'm trying to figure out signs, literature, that sort of thing, and to send out a mailer. So I'm trying to figure out what that might cost, and I probably am going to raise my fundraising threshold. But the very, very ambitious goal that we had, we met it yesterday. And I am so thankful to you guys. But also another way you can assist my campaign is through super chats. Unless otherwise stated, like when I have a guest, all super chats go to my campaign. And also, you can show your defiance to the fraud that the Convention Oversight Committee perpetrated on the delegates by taking their money for a convention theme and then turning it into something that was never intended by buying merchandise with a logo done by an independent designer that represents what was intended by the theme of this convention. All profits are split with this designer. I have sent him some money already, and he has been very, very grateful for it. So that is tinyurl.com/pink flame merch. So get your Liberty Unmasked merchandise there and help support me and help support the independent designer. You can give to my secretary campaign right here. I am, again, going to be raising the fundraising goal, but again, any of my donors can have access to my campaign transparency sheet so you can see where all the money has gone. And lastly, let's hide this. We're at the beginning of the month, and there's always a Patreon loss at the beginning of the month as people's financial situations change. Please consider becoming a patron at Pink Flame of Liberty. Later on today, there is one of my radio shows that is scheduled for 2 o'clock. I will try to be in live chat, but I can't guarantee it. So I do, and that's 2 Mountain. I do hope you watch that, and I thank you for being with me this morning. And hello, Diana. You probably should be getting some sleep. I'm not sleeping because I'm getting ready to leave to go to the Louisiana convention. Love you all.